Hey everybody, this is an Unemployed Extra.
Unemployed Extra.
Hey everybody, how's it going? Um, I'm gonna do something for the first time. How's the hair? Is the hair okay? In an Unemployed Extra. I'm going to give it a date. I'm recording this on the 5th of Cinco de Mayo. Happy Cinco de Mayo, everybody. We've taken another, much like St. Patrick's Day, another holiday from a different culture and turned it into a reason to get drunk. That's water, by the way. Yesterday, the 4th of May, 2017, the Republicans voted and passed their bill that essentially repeals and replaces Obamacare, the Affordable Care Act. And I thought I'd give my 2 cents on the whole thing. Before I get going, a few things you should know. One, this is not an anti-America rant. I happen to love this country. My grandfather was wounded in World War II in the Pacific fighting for this country. My father was in the Bay of Pigs during Kennedy's administration. He was in Vietnam in the Navy. My brother was in the Air Force in Iraq during Desert Shield. This is not an anti-America video, so don't anybody claim it is. Secondly, this is not an anti-Republican or an anti-Democrat video. I am not here to rail on Republicans or Democrats or anybody. I'm here to give you my opinion. If you're a Republican or a Democrat, you may not like what I have to say in this video, but this isn't an anti-anything for the most part. So, that being said, why am I here? Well, I got a lot of free time on my hands, being unemployed. And, you know, I've watched a lot of cable news over the last day and a half or so. And I think the one thing that really has me worried right now in this country is that, you know, I watch Fox News, then I watch CNN, MSNBC, you know, various news organizations on the internet, and nobody will say, matter-of-factly, what exactly the Affordable Health Care Act does. And what I mean by that is, you can watch Fox News, then change the channel and watch, say, CNN. And they will tell you that the same thing, the Affordable Health Care Act, does exactly the opposite what the other person said it does. I'll put it this way. This is what frightens me. You could put Paul Ryan in a chair. You could put Chuck Schumer, Nancy Pelosi, whoever you want in the other chair. Sit them down. All right? With the legislation in between them. Have them both read the exact same piece of paper. All right? And then ask them what this thing does. And Paul Ryan will tell you the exact opposite what Nancy Pelosi does. And Nancy Pelosi will tell you the exact opposite of what Paul Ryan says it does. And that's what frightens me. That we have a law that's going to the Senate, a bill, I should say, going to the Senate to potentially become law in this country. And from what I can tell, the language of this thing is written so that, depending on your bias, whatever color glasses you're looking at it through, it can mean something totally different to somebody else. it'd be like if you had a piece of paper with a sentence written on it that Abraham Lincoln speech, the Emancipation Proclamation, freed the slaves, and two people looked at that sentence and said, one person said, well, that sentence means that Lincoln freed the slaves. The other person said, that doesn't say Lincoln freed the slaves. It's words. It's there. It's a fact. It's right there in its language written on paper. This idea that words, knowledge, all right, is no longer fact anymore. And I'm not talking about global warming. I'm not talking about the environment. I'm not talking about any of that crap. This is a bill that passed. I don't care if you're Republican, if you're Democrat. I don't care who you are. This is a bill that passed a level of government and moved on to the next, to the Senate. And from what I can tell, no two people can tell you consensus, that's what it does. Democrats will tell you it throws millions of people off health care, that people with pre-existing conditions will no longer get covered because their pre-existing conditions can be opted out by their states. They can choose to raise your rates so high you can't afford to have pre-existing conditions anymore. Meanwhile, President Trump says the only way he'd let this legislation go forward is if everybody got health care and everybody's pre-existing conditions were covered. And this bill does it. It gives me a headache. Republicans are all saying every promise they promised is in the bill. Meanwhile, Democrats say it isn't. And the CBO, Congressional Budget Office, who's supposed to be in the middle, nobody believes them. Their facts are totally wrong. I'm befuddled. I'll be honest with you. I wish I could be funny. I wish I could have jokes. I wish I could be up here being hilarious, but I can't because I'm just I don't know what I am. How can you it just blows my mind that a potential law in this country can be read by two different people and mean two different things to them. It just blows. Somebody's got to be lying. I don't know who it is. I haven't read the legislation. I have no idea what it says. But someone has to be wrong. One fact can't be opposite. You know, the law of gravity is a law of gravity. You know what I mean? You can't have the opposite of it. It doesn't work. A fact's a fact. And the idea that this potential law can mean two things at the same time is just, it's mind-boggling. That troubles me. It really troubles me because that means somebody is using what was written strictly for their own good. They're totally ignoring the truth of what's written on that piece of paper strictly for their own purposes. And I don't care who it is, Republicans, Democrats, I don't care who it is. I'm just saying one of those two groups is doing it. You know, when you write something on a piece of paper, all right, and say this is what we want the law to be, both sides have to go, that's what it means. Okay. It's like the seatbelt law. You know, if you write, to drive a car, you gotta wear a seatbelt. Period. You write that down, and then the one guy says, well, I don't think that's right. You should be able to choose whether or not you wear a seatbelt. And the other person goes, no, because of health costs, various conditions, you should be made to wear a seatbelt. All right? And that's what you argue about right there. You don't argue about what that sentence actually means. You know what I'm saying? And that's what I'm hearing right now. I'm not hearing people saying that the Health Care Act is bad or good. I'm hearing people say that the Republicans are saying it doesn't do what the Democrats say it does. That the Democrats aren't telling the truth. And the Democrats are saying that the Republicans aren't telling you what it actually does. And that's horrifying to me, because we should at least agree on what the thing actually does. You know what I'm saying? Maybe I'm being vague about it. I apologize if I am, because that's just how confused I am about the whole thing. You know, they're not saying, no, I don't support it because of what it does. They're saying, I don't support it because of what it does, and then the opposite side is saying, you're interpreting it wrong, or that's not what it does. And that just terrifies me. It does. It just terrifies me. And I just... this can't be the way it works from now on, folks. It can't. If the Democrats are right, fine. Republicans, defend yourself. Defend why 24 million people shouldn't be on health care. Don't tell me that's not true. Ugh. Or show me the facts that prove it's not true. Or show me the facts that prove it's true. Instead of sitting there screaming back and forth about who's not telling the truth, how about somebody show me the truth? That's all I'm saying. And it's very frustrating from where I'm sitting. I got diabetes, so it kind of affects me. I'm actually hoping what the Republicans have put forth goes through, because I'm one of those people that doesn't wish the worst on people. I've never said I want this bad thing to happen to somebody. I don't believe in that. Instead, what I wish for is for people to get exactly what they deserve. That's what I wish for everybody. Because maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you're not a bad person. Maybe you're a good person. Maybe my bias, I think of you as a bad person. But in reality, you're not really that bad of a person. So you don't deserve to have a bad thing happen to you. So I don't say, make this bad thing happen to this person. I say, no. Let this person get exactly what they deserve. And if they're a bad person, bad things will happen to them. And if they're a good person, good things will happen to them. They'll get exactly what they deserve. That's what I wish upon people. And that's why I want this bill to pass. I want the Republicans to do some massaging in the Senate, but not change the bill a lot. And I want it to pass, because the people who voted to put the people in the... By the way, while we're here, Democrats, all you people out there with you're doing your marches and your angry speeches and impeach Trump, hopefully now you realize how meaningless you are. All right? Your little protests, your little town halls don't mean shit. They still voted for it. Okay? This protest movement everybody's talking about is bullshit. Okay? You didn't change anybody's mind. All right? They conceded to the ultra-right wing of the party. That's why it passed. It had nothing to do with town hall speeches. And I'll tell you what, right now, the senators don't care. The senators are going to try to change the bill in a way that's palatable to them, but they're not going to listen to outside pressure. Chances are it's going to pass the Senate eventually anyway. Obamacare's gone, folks. It's over with. All right? This idea of single payer health care ain't happening anytime soon. So don't even I don't even want to hear any more about it. And the reason why I say that is because of this. And that's the other part that kind of scares me about the country right now, is that people elected these guys and women. These people. They got elected. They didn't come from outer space. They didn't zoom in from another dimension. They're not grown in a petri dish in some some hospital somewhere underground. They were born from American families. They went to American schools, American colleges. They grew up in American cities, in American counties, and American states. People voted them in. There's a lot of people in this country that agree with everything they say. All right? They do. This idea that America is some moral beacon for the world is a bunch of bullshit. We're not. We're selfish. We're self-important. And the leaders we have in our government just prove that. Look at the leaders that are in our government right now. That's what America is to the world. That's what, when people look to America, that's what they see. They still have hope because, trust me, the rest of the world sucks. It does. Places like India and Syria, there's not the chances you do get in America. But we're taking that away. We're working on it. Trump wants to throw them people out. But we're not this bastion of moral high ground that people like to think we are. I love the fact that people wrap themselves in religion and patriotism when it suits them. Meanwhile, most of them never serve in the military and aren't really religious. Not really. I mean, I went to school. I went to parochial school for most of my life. Raised Roman Catholic. Went to a Roman Catholic school system for the majority of my life, except for 2 years. I've read the Bible. I know what Jesus said. Truth is, if Jesus came back to the earth today, Republicans would probably string him up because they wouldn't believe he was Jesus, because he wouldn't believe anything that they do. All right, Jesus hung with Mary Magdalene, who was a prostitute. He hated taxmen. He hated the rich. Wasn't that fond of people in government either. Jesus didn't believe in Jesus. If Jesus were alive today, he'd probably be called a socialist, believe it or not. Jesus believed that everything is everybody's. There is no real possession. That your job as a human being was to take care of your neighbor, not put a fence up around your house to keep his dog off your lawn. If Jesus were alive today, he would hang with the drug addicts, the criminals, and try to make them better people. Not see how many of them he can execute in Arkansas in a 2-week period. We're not the country you think we are, people. If you believe like these progressives and the Democrats spout off, that's not America. Not the America I know, anyway. This is a cold, dark place where there's no charity and there's no pity. That's the truth of things. There are many people today that aren't concerned about the American Health Care Act, that don't care about the 20 million or so people that won't have health insurance, who don't care about other people's rates rising as long as their rate goes down. All they care about is complete self-interest. As long as my health care goes down, as long as my business has low health care, I give a fuck about anybody else. That's America. And you know it is. That's the truth. And that scares me. It does. That's a sad place. It's a very dark place. But what can you do? Have a good weekend. Guardians of the Galaxy 2 opened. I'm gonna probably wait till next weekend before I go see it. So no spoilers. This is your unemployed superhero. Wishing he had happier thoughts, but not today. You take care.